Welcome to the podcast, The Whole and Complete Woman, where we provide practical tips and strategies for achieving your health, wealth, and relationship goals and desires. Yes, I said desires because God does not put desires in our heart just to tease us. So it is important to me that you are empowered with the tools and resources to not only fulfill your goals, but to create a life you love and create a legacy. Because the people who come after us, they are depending on us to pave the way. So I congratulate you for being here. Not only will today's content help your future self, but also those that come behind us. And that looks different for everyone, which I love. So before I jump into today's content, I want to talk about your future self. Okay. So, what are you doing today that is setting you up for success tomorrow? Or 5 years from now, or 10, 20 years from now. So, a lot of the women that come to me, they're in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, right? Some a little older, some a little younger. So, maybe not older, wiser. But really, for me as a woman in my 40s, what am I doing today that's setting me up for success when I'm 60? And a lot of times we think about these things financially or, in other areas like our goals, our big goals. But like, what are you doing for your health? Like, are you going to be able to move when you're 60 or you're 70 or you're 80? Like, get around, hang out with your grandkids, go on vacation, enjoy the vacation, be able to stay awake. Some of you guys can't even do that now. And I say that with the most amount of empathy someone could have because I used to be there. I used to be exhausted all the time. The weekends would come and I just want to sleep my weekend away. The evenings would come and I'd be like, I got to get in bed. I am tired. Afternoons would come. I was exhausted all the time. So I get it. And that's how come helping women balance their hormones, understand what's going on inside of their body, and really get solutions that work is so, so important to me. But I want to ask you, what are you doing for your future self today? Think about that. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. So, what we are going to talk about is cycle syncing and seed cycling. So, this is what I was on TV for just a few weeks, just last month. So, if you have not seen that episode, I have it on my YouTube page. You can go ahead and click there and watch that. It's 4 minutes of me jamming in all the information I could in just a few moments. Okay. So, this episode, we're going to dive deeper and we're really going to look more at nutrition and fitness. We're going to touch a little bit on mood and activities, things like that. But really, when we line our lives up with our menstrual cycle, it can be really helpful. I have a whole nother episode on that really breaks down the menstrual cycle, the different phases, how long it is. You can watch that one as well. This one is really going to focus on the key nutrients that you're needing during different times of the month. And the reason why you need different nutrients is because your hormones are changing. Okay. So what happens is, first of all, your menstrual cycle begins on the first day of your bleed, red blood. Okay. Not pink, not brown. Okay. So red blood, preferably bright red blood. And basically, that's when your hormones are at everything is at its lowest point. What will happen is estrogen will go up, it will come down, and then progesterone, it will come up and it will come down. Those hormones need different nutrients. So what you can begin to do is incorporate this. And I have a guide for you. So you can go ahead and click the link in the show notes. All the foods that you'll need to incorporate during your 4 different phases of your menstrual cycle, they're all listed out for you, as well as seed cycling. And there's a bit on there that we'll talk about as well when it comes to fitness and mood and all of those types of things. I'm all about honoring our bodies. Okay. So God created us to be very cyclical. There's different cycles that our bodies go through. So there are our menstrual cycle that changes throughout the month. So things are always changing, and it doesn't have to be this crazy, like you're moody and angry or irritable. That's really not normal. And I used to be that way. When it would lead up to that week, sometimes 2 weeks before my menstrual cycle, I'd get super depressed, extremely tired, very irritable, moody, all of those types of things. And it's not that way anymore. I feel pretty balanced all month long and I have energy, but I honor my body throughout my menstrual cycle. I really pay attention to what's going on with my schedule, when I'm putting things on my schedule, and not to push my body too hard during different times of the month. So we're going to get into that, okay? We're also cyclical in nature in that there is the sun goes up and then it comes down, okay? Every day, or at least that's what we're seeing, right? Out in the atmosphere and the universe, right? And so that's a cycle that our bodies go through. And that's very different for us versus men. Men get a fresh boost of testosterone every single day. We have testosterone, but it really comes in around ovulation during that time. It's really important for like motivation, energy, libido, all of those types of things. So it's just very different. We have all these other hormones that are at play, okay? And then we've got thyroid in there. We've got insulin that's helping to regulate glucose. So there's lots of different things. So today we're going to talk about the key nutrients that are needed. So when it comes to your menstrual phase, which typically should last 3 to 5 days or 3 to 7 days, the foods that you're going to want to focus on eating are things that are rich in iron, vitamin C, and then foods that help balance estrogen, have lots of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory foods. And then there's just other things that you'll want to do to help with your gut. Okay. So those also can help with estrogen balance. So the thing is that estrogen begins to rise during this phase. Okay. And it's going to rise and it's going to continue rising until you go into your next phase, which is your follicular. Okay. So for those of you that haven't watched the other episode, there's 4 phases. There's the menstrual cycle phase, 3 to 7 days. There's the follicular phase that lasts about 7 to 10 days. That's the first half of your cycle right before you get to ovulation. So ovulation and the time that you can actually get pregnant when your body's producing this egg is only about a 48-hour period. Okay. It's very short. And then that second half of your phase or your cycle is called the luteal phase. Okay. So the first 3 phases happen during that first half of the menstrual cycle. And if you have a 28-day cycle, which most people don't, it would be those days. Okay. The one thing I want you to know is that your luteal cycle is always 10 to 14 days and it's a fixed number. So if yours is 12 days or it's 14 days, for most women, 14. That's how come if you're using an app to track your menstrual cycle and know when you ovulate, and then once your period comes, that date will often change. It's already just pre-calculated to assume you have a 14-day luteal phase, and it will recalculate once your menstrual cycle comes and say, oh no, you ovulated back here on this day. Okay, so not the best way to really track our menstrual cycle. I know they're super popular. I use it to just remind me of when my menstrual cycle came, but I don't use it to tell me. Okay, I use other things. And I should create a whole episode on just knowing like the changes that go on within your body and the different signs when there's imbalance there. So I'll do that as well. All right, so I say all that to say that estrogen goes up and then it comes back down. Your body needs to be able to metabolize it and get rid of it. So a lot of that happens in your liver. Okay, so estrogen balancing foods are going to be things that are help with the liver metabolism. So things like cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, arugula, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, bok choy, collard greens, kale, turnips, watercress, all of those types of things. And then also things that can be really important to help your gut microbiome, because you have something called an estrobiome. Okay, so one thing that we're able to test inside of a stool test is something called beta glucuronidase. And when that marker is high in your gut, basically instead of estrogen leaving out, it's actually being reabsorbed into your bloodstream. So one way, without knowing any of that, is to eat fermented foods that help improve your microbiome. They help also reduce your risk of yeast infections and things like that. So kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh, miso, those are all things that are really good and helpful for the microbiome. Iron-rich foods. So you're losing blood during this time. So it's good to replenish and have foods that are rich in iron, and also combine that with vitamin C rich foods as well. So spinach, lentils, beans, pumpkin seeds, red meat, shellfish, organ meats. Organ meat's really good, okay? Not so much like taste, but it's so healthy for you, okay? So you can oftentimes get that from local butchers or farmers. I know Sprouts carries those types of things, Whole Foods for sure. If you're able to get into those things, those give you some really solid nutrients. Also, there's some companies that you can get it in supplement form as well. And then your antioxidant and anti-inflammatory foods are going to be your berries, your dark leafy greens, ginger, turmeric, flaxseed. Flaxseed also helps balance estrogen. Peppermint tea, green tea, those are all good things to really enjoy during your menstrual cycle phase. I also say I love having like warm foods during this time as well. Um, so this is a good time for slow cookers, all of those types of things. You want foods that are easy to digest during this time as well. Cook your vegetables. Protein is always important in all of the phases, but during this time, try to incorporate proteins that are easier to digest. So eggs, Greek yogurt, ground turkey or chicken, those are really good. And then this is an important time to really limit your seed oils, anything that's going to be highly inflammatory during this time. Okay. So conventional meats and beef, like sometimes people are like, okay, give up red meat. Well, it needs to be give up the red meat that has the hormones in it, the antibiotics, the cows that have been fed GMO corn, all of those types of things. But you can still very much enjoy grass-fed beef, all of those. Those have really good, rich omegas in them and fatty acids that are very anti-inflammatory for the body. Same thing for people a lot of times with the caffeine and the alcohol during this time. And that's because these can decrease your hydration. So they can cause dehydration. And then alcohol can be inflammatory as well. And then that can lead to issues like fatigue and can slow down just any kind of healing process going on in your body. When it comes to fitness, you can take it easy during this time, honor your body. Some women feel like a boost of energy compared to the premenstrual cycle right there in that luteal phase where they feel awful. Their period comes, they're like, I feel awake. I feel good. I have energy. That's the way I used to be when my period would come. I would totally feel like myself again. I feel like my brain would turn back on and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back. I feel good. So if you feel good, go do what feels good fitness wise for yourself during this time. If not, take it easy. Be gentle with yourself. So after your menstrual phase, you move into your follicular phase, okay? And this is where your body's starting to rebuild the lining of your uterus. And this is to prepare for egg implantation, which is going to happen, if you're, sperm and egg, those things come together, right? But in the next phase, you'll have ovulation. So this follicular phase is preparing your body for this. Estrogen is continuing to rise during this time, and it's working to really help create that mature follicle that's going to become that egg, and it's going to release. So the key nutrients that you want to focus on during this phase are going to be high quality protein, B12, again, estrogen balancing foods, zinc, and then water is really important here too. I'm going to take a sip of water while I'm sitting here. All right. So when it comes to high quality protein, 100% grass-fed beef, wild caught, low mercury fish. So you want your fish to be wild caught. And then when it comes to your poultry, pasture raised poultry is the best. Pasture raised eggs are the best. And I talked about this in another episode, but you really want, when it comes to your eggs, for them to have a dark orange yolk. That's a telltale sign that this came from a really healthy chicken that was able to just get out there on the pasture, eat worms, flies, all the things that chickens enjoy, okay? Oftentimes I've seen things that were organic, they'll even say pasture raised, and they have a yellow yolk. So I like to shop around. When it comes to vitamin B12, that's another place where you can get this nutrient from grass-fed beef, pasture-raised poultry, pasture-raised eggs, yogurt, organ meat, any of those places. Fortified nutritional yeast can be helpful as well to get B12 in. So you see the high quality protein and the B12 go together. So that's really important, as well as zinc. So zinc can come from red meat, shellfish, legumes. There's bigger variety here. Hemp seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, pine nuts, peanuts, cashews, almonds, full fat dairy. And I say full fat because when you do things that are low fat or non-fat, the way that God designed whatever that is it had that fat in there with it. So when they come and strip it out, one, they're doing it through some type of process, but then oftentimes what happened during the low fat phase or fad that went on was they replaced it with sugar. Okay, so and that did not create a world where people became more slim. Okay, actually, during that time where it was like fat is bad, low fat, people actually began to gain more and more weight. And it's because glucose goes up and it's got to come down, but it comes down because insulin lowers it. Okay, and every time insulin is out and your body's using it, it's storing fat. So the idea that fat makes you fat has been debunked completely. There's lots of research and information out there, and actually, our body needs it. Our brain is primarily made up of fat. Our cells are 50% fat. So, your cells are the most minute part of your body, okay? So, everything, all of your organs are basically a bunch of cells that came together, right? And then you've got your organ systems. It's all the smallest part of you is at a cellular level, and that is made of fat. Okay. The cell membrane where your hormones attach or your nutrient receptors attach to your cells, that is made of saturated fat. So there's a whole nother topic, but your body needs those things. Okay. So when it comes to zinc, you're able to get it in full fat dairy products, pasture raised eggs, any of those types of things. So that follicular phase is really a time to focus on high quality proteins. Even when it comes to the zinc, you're hearing legumes, hemp seeds, all of those types of things have a good amount of protein, not as much as animal protein, but they do have a lot in there. And then we're still going to focus on those estrogen stabilizing foods, okay? Those things that are going to help balance estrogen and help the liver to metabolize it, so use it, okay? So that's still going to be your flaxseed, your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, arugula, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all of those types of things. Now, here, when it comes to fitness, you may feel yourself getting a lot of energy. Okay. It's starting to build. You're feeling good. So, this is a good time for strength training, moderate to high intensity cardio, even high intensity if you feel like it can be beneficial for you during this phase. It's a good time to also get outside because vitamin D is a very important precursor to hormones, and it's really the best way to increase your vitamin D is through natural sunlight. Okay. So you're able to get that natural sunlight. You're able to help with your circadian rhythms as well, because then your eyes are seeing, oh, it's sunlight here, so that can help with your sleep. Lots and lots of benefits to just getting outside, getting fresh air. If you're not able to get outside, you can also supplement with vitamin D based on whatever your levels are. Okay. You don't want to overdose and do too much vitamin D. So always check your levels, know what you're taking, why, test, don't guess. Okay. Now, the other thing is that during this time when estrogen is increasing, when it comes to your foods, you can increase your carbohydrates a bit. This doesn't mean like veg out or anything, but during this time, your body, estrogen allows your body to be more sensitive to insulin, meaning you need less of it in order to bring those levels down. So your body's able to better handle those fluctuations in blood sugar, and carbohydrates are typically more well tolerated during that time. If you're going to have carbohydrates, I would say have the ones where the legumes, those beans, those types of things. Have some good avocados. I mean, not avocados, sweet potatoes, brown rice, all of those types of things can be really good carbohydrate intake. That's also going to help your body. They're fibrous, okay? So they're also going to help with your gut microbiome, all of those types of things. And then we've got your ovulatory phase, okay? So this window, it is a small window, 24 to 48 hours, okay? And this is when your body releases an egg from one of those mature follicles, okay? So the key nutrients that you want to focus on during this time are your omega-3 fatty acids, selenium, folate, and beta carotene. So omega-3s that can come from fish like mackerel or wild caught salmon, sardines, anchovies, herring. Chia seeds are a good source of them, flax seeds, walnuts, caviar, any of those types of things. You can supplement with cod liver oil. And then selenium, my favorite place to get selenium from is Brazil nuts. But you can also get selenium from sunflower seeds. You can get it from yogurt, shrimp, salmon, crab, oysters, grass-fed beef, and liver have it, specifically liver, your pasture-raised eggs. So those can be really helpful. Folate is really important during this time as well. So that's going to be your dark green leafy vegetables, beans, sunflower seeds, peanuts, liver, seafood, pasture raised eggs. So you're also hearing a theme here, like eggs are really good for you. Okay. They have so many good benefits. And then beta carotene, that's going to be your things that are orange. Okay. So think butternut squash, apricots, cantaloupe, sweet potatoes, carrots. Those are all really, really good things to implement. Fitness, you're going to be feeling good. Or if everything's balanced, I know that I'm saying you're going to be, like if everything's balanced, you should be feeling really, really good during this time. So it's a good time for those high intensity exercises, your strength training, interval training, any of those. And then water. So this might sound completely obvious, but as you become more active, being well hydrated is a must. And then also, this will help you metabolize hormones and properly excrete those byproducts, especially. Okay. So remember, estrogen goes up, it's got to come down, and it's got to be able to leave the body. It's going to do that through your poop, your pee, and your sweat. Okay. So that can be helpful as well. You can also drink lemon water. So I love recommending this, just even morning lemon water, because what it does is it helps get digestion flowing. It's a good way to wake up your digestion and specifically your liver as well when you add in those lemon juices. You can even add in Himalayan sea salt to help replenish electrolytes. Like if you've been sweating, those are really good things to incorporate. And water intake can also help your cervical fluid during this time as well, especially if you're trying to conceive. Okay. And when you're ovulating, you want to have your cervical fluid is more of that raw egg white consistency and stretchy too. Okay. So that's a good telltale sign of ovulation as well. And then during this time, you might just feel more energetic, outgoing. Testosterone is peaking during this time too. So you have more motivation. It's a good time for speaking engagements, give presentations, all of those types of things. And then your last phase is your luteal phase. Okay. So this is where progesterone is going to start coming in. So that first half of that luteal phase. So now you've had the first half, menstrual cycle, follicular phase, and then ovulatory. Okay. All of that happened the first half. The second half is the luteal phase. Okay. Oftentimes 10 to 14 days, usually 14 days for most women. If it's shorter, or if it's longer, then there's some type of luteal phase defect, and there may be something else going on. So what you want to do here is you want to help support progesterone. And the foods that help support progesterone are going to be things that are that have antioxidants in them, magnesium, protein, and then there's specific foods like beans, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, nuts, pumpkin, spinach, whole grains. All of those things help support the production of progesterone. Your antioxidant rich foods are going to be your berries, your dark leafy green carrot or greens, your carrots, red cabbage, avocado. All of those are great options. And then magnesium rich foods are going to be your sunflower seeds, your almonds, your spinach, dark leafy greens here. So we're hearing greens a lot here. But that can really help with estrogen and progesterone. And then high quality protein. So you're hearing some themes here. Your body needs protein. Okay. It's not something that we can skimp on. And what you will find is as you increase your protein intake, according to whatever your current body weight is, what you will find is your cravings for sugar or salt or whatever your thing is, it will tend to go down drastically because your body is now basically being nourished and being filled up with really high quality food here. Okay. So when we do protein, if it's animal protein, you want it to be clean protein. Okay. Grass fed beef, wild caught fish, pasture raised poultry. Okay. As much as you can. I know it's not always feasible, but as much and as often as you can. You can also get protein from your lentils, your beans, your quinoa, Greek yogurt, temp, all of those types of things as well. So other things to just consider during this luteal phase, because I'm all about you really honoring your cycle. That first half, you still may be flying high from your ovulatory phase, lots of energy, feeling really good. You can go ahead and just continue on that. But as you get closer to your menstrual cycle, honor your body, okay? With fitness, you may feel your energy dropped a bit. If you're at the gym, you may feel like, oh, why can't I go as hard today? And that's okay. Honor your body. Know that it's going through this cycle. And also know that, in a couple weeks, or not even a couple weeks, but soon you'll be having that energy again and that momentum. Okay. So I like for women to really honor their body, do things that are lower impact, Pilates, yoga, walking, all of those types of things, moderate strength training, moderate cardio, and really honor your body during this time. And then with your mood, this is where oftentimes you can feel a little more detached or a little more irritable if hormonal imbalances are present. So just be mindful to pay attention to that. Magnesium can really help set you up as far as when it comes to mood, but then also magnesium's so good for so many different things in the body. It's really one of the main nutrients that gets depleted when we're under stress. And then remember, stress isn't just your emotional and mental stress. It's also toxins, which could be biotoxins or environmental toxins. Then it's also deficiencies. Okay. So all of that's really stressful on the body. So magnesium in general can be very helpful, but magnesium is relaxing. Okay. It's a relaxing nutrient, and that can be helpful when it even comes to menstrual cycle cramps. Okay. Like your muscles are literally tightening up in your uterus, and magnesium can be helpful for that. Of course, remember, I'm a doctor, I'm not your doctor. So whatever types of regimens that you're implementing when it comes to supplements, make sure that you're just talking to your healthcare provider about that. But this end of your phase is a good time to connect with friends, be gentle, get natural sunlight, prioritize sleep. I make sure, like when I know that I'm entering my luteal phase, that I'm not pushing myself too hard. Those are the nights that I'm like, okay, I've got to make sure I get into bed on time, just to set myself up for success. The seed cycling is another area. So we talked about the 4 areas of the menstrual cycle and the nutrients that are really important during those 4 phases. The other thing that people enjoy doing is something called seed cycling. So seed cycling is super simple, and basically you're alternating seeds here. Okay. So basically that first half of your cycle, so from the time you bleed until your ovulation, basically the follicular time. Okay. So your body's building up, ready to move you into ovulation. The seeds that you would want to focus on are your flax seeds and your pumpkin seeds. And then that second half of the cycle is going to be your sunflower seeds and sesame seeds. And that's just specific because those seeds in particular, they have some of the nutrients in them that can be very, very supportive of helping to balance your hormones and to give you the nutrients that each of those hormones need. So I know that I went over a lot today when it came to specific nutrients. So that's why I created the guide for you. You don't have to sit there with the pen and paper, or if you are out and about listening to this while you're with your kids or at the mall or at the gym or in the car, wherever you're at. I have the guide for you. You can go ahead and download that. It is in the show notes for you, and just print it out. Have fun, do some trial and error. Let me know how it goes. Let me know any changes that you experience, and just let me know. So that's all that I have for today. I hope that this information was helpful for you to really dive deep into the nutrients that are helpful during each phase of the menstrual cycle. And I want you to really think about what I started the show out with. What are you doing today for your future self? What are you doing for yourself today that's going to empower you and set you up for success tomorrow morning? What are you doing today that 10 years from now, you're going to look back and say, I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I started that. I'm glad that I changed that trajectory of my life. I was going in a totally different direction. What are you doing? That's my question for you. So if you'd like to hear more, or you'd like to also hear from our guest experts on topics like love, health, wealth, and career, we've got you covered. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or another streaming service, go ahead and follow us. You won't regret it, okay? And it really helps us out. So it helps get the word out about the information we're sharing. And when you share, you're also helping another woman. So one of my goals in starting this podcast was to really create community and connection. So sharing this podcast, subscribing, liking, doing all the things, it really helps me in my life mission, and it helps you and our community. Thank you.